Hi students, today we're looking at My Math Lesson 10 from Chapter 2, multiplying by two-digit numbers. Students will be able to multiply up to a three-digit number by a two-digit number. So let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully you watched my previous videos on how to estimate products and how to multiply by a one-digit number. So this would be the next in that series. So things get a little tricky when we multiply by two digits. There are a couple of extra steps that we have to take that can sometimes be confusing for students. So let's start off with this problem. 16 times 13. Okay? So in the beginning, what we're going to do is pretty much multiply like we did before with one digit. So the very first thing that we're going to do is work with the 3. And we're going to share the 3 up and diagonal just like before. So we're taking 3 times 6, which is 18, and I put my 8 down and I carry my 1, just like we used to do. And now I have to go diagonally and share 3 with 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Plus 1 is 4. So that is exactly what we used to do, okay? So that is step 1. Now I'm done working with the 3, so I like to cross it out. My next number is to work with 1, this one right here in the tens place. Well, since I'm moving over to the tens place, I have to start writing in the tens place, which means I need to put a 0 underneath my 8 in the ones place. So again, because my next steps are to work with the tens place, I'm putting a 0 in the ones place so I know not to use it. So think of this as like another layer. This top layer was when we dealt with this 3 in the ones place. And now that we're dealing with the tens place, we're going to start another layer. I'm going to get rid of that plus 1 because we might not use that plus 1. And now let's share our 1. 1 times 6 is our next step. So notice that I'm now sharing diagonally first because I always want to start sharing with my ones place. 1 times 6 is 6. Now watch where I put it. I put it underneath my sharing 1, next to my 0. Now I want to share with the number above the 1. Now I share with my tens place. 1 times 1 is 1. So where do I put the 1? In the same layer next to the 6. Our last and final step is to take what we got when we shared the 3 and what we got when we shared that 1 and add them together. 8 plus 0, 4 plus 6 is 10, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So 16 times 13 is 208. So some people might be thinking, well, I don't understand this double layer thing. I don't understand why there's a 0. I want to show this to you in a different way by breaking this problem apart, okay? So I'm actually going to take this problem and make it two separate problems. I'm going to make this 16 times 3, our ones place, and I'm also going to make it 16 times 10. Now, why is she saying 10, but she pointed to a 1? Because that 1 is in the tens place, so it's worth 10. Okay? So now let's do these two problems. 6 times 3 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Remember, we got 48 up here. And now let's do 16 times 10. That's actually mental math. 16 times 1 is 16, and you put the 0 at the end for 160. And that's what we got when we did this over here. Lastly, we could add together those two products. This is called partial products, and it can confuse some people, but it can be helpful for others. So that's why I'm showing it to you. And when we add 160 plus 48, we still get the 208. So I'm going to show you another example. Let's take 45 times 23. That's our problem. Okay, so I'm going to kind of show you both ways. So remember that this problem, we can just solve it all together, or we can break it apart into two. So we could think of this as 45 times the ones place and 45 times the tens place, which is really a 20. Okay, because it's a 2 in the tens place. So does everyone see how I broke that up? I took 45 times 3, and then 45 times 2, which is really 20 because it's in the tens place. So let's do the regular method first. First, I have to share the 3. I work with my ones place, and here I'm doing it. There's my ones place. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So again, that's what we did in a previous lesson. Now I'm going to erase this plus 1 so I don't get confused. Now I'm done sharing the 3. So I'm done with my ones place. So for my next layer where I start working with 2, I don't have any ones, so I want to put a 0 in the ones place. And now I can work with 2. Now, we want to share 2 to the ones place first. So first, we take 2 times 5, which is 10. And I put next to my 0. Put my 0 down, carry my 1 over the next digit. And now 2 can share with 4. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. To answer this, I add those two partial products together. My two layers. I add 5 plus 0, 3 plus 0, and 9 plus 1 for a product of 1,035. Let's go over to the partial products. If this is too hard over here because of the organization, then I suggest trying this method. If this method does not work for you, then don't use it, okay? So remember, our first step was to share 45 with the ones place 3. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Notice we get the same thing. All right, now let's go over here and work with 45 times 20. So this might be mental math for some of you who can do 45 times 2, and then you can add your 0 on the end. But you can also think of it this way, 45 times 2, being a lefty is kind of hard with this. 45 times 2, 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and it was really 45 times 20, so we want to put a 0 at the end. Now, does that number look familiar? It should, because that's what we got over here when we shared our 2. So partial products, this method on the right, gives you the same pieces, but for people who have trouble with the organization of all of this in the regular method, it can really help you to stay organized. Our last step would be to take the two partial products and add them together. And we get the exact same thing as we did with the regular method. All right, I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you on the next video. Have a great day.